He simply hates humans. In this mansion he was being bullied and a laughingstock of people around. They were calling him a loser with a 1200 power level who was focused on by the state and finally awakened his F-rank ability. And the ball of light in his hand was his power. It was soft and beautiful and was perfect for the porch. And was not expensive and was not even a sealer, and the guy said that if it wasn't for his kindness, he had been sold for his organs. And he was saying in his mind that there were no good people in the world and promised to himself that he would kill them all. Extinction of all mankind, the world was polluted without warning, without pattern, disaster struck. And the statue of the Imperial Valkyrie has mutated. A 100-meter-tall regiment of stone giants was summoned, and leveled the beautiful city. The Manhwa Trench was transformed into a dimensional vortex, and an army of aliens swarmed out. Advent Island was completely covered in fungus and overrun by demons. The handmade item shop in Sterculia Leaf City was transformed into a two-dimensional picture book and appeared randomly all over the world. A large number of buildings and humans have been sucked into the book, and there's no way to escape. The falling leaves that float over his shoulders, puppy on leash, things on the right hand, and any object can turn into pollutants. In just a half a year, the human population has plummeted from 12 billion to 6 billion. In a moment of despair, the sealer appeared. They were human beings empowered by pollution. Endless wealth, honor, power, and status flew towards them. At the same time, they were also responsible for sealing the pollutants. They became heroes, the last guardian of mankind. And he was Bai Xing, the protagonist of our story for today. And he had been reborn. He saw those humans and all of his pain came from humans and said that humans should be exterminated. And first of all, it starts at the school, starting with the sealer qualification exam. While he was walking around, the guy tapped him on his shoulder and said that he had been looking for him and asked him if he was hiding in the crowd, and if he knew what would happen if he didn't pass the exam. He was recapping in his mind that the man was Kim Phuket, the loan shark who ruined his family in his previous life. The man was asking why he doesn't answer him and if he does not have confidence. The man told everyone to take a look and asked them if they knew Bai Xing, who had been interviewed on the official program. And the guy beside him said that he was a genius who had tested at 1200 power level 3 years ago, the future of humanity. And everyone was laughing at him and said that he was a loser and couldn't believe he awakened his ability with such a high energy and asked himself what a shame he was. Kim laughed and told him that he was being watched by everyone again and asked if isn't it was motivating. And only by becoming a sealer can he sell for a good price and pay back 1/10 of what he owes. Otherwise, his organs may be found all over the world, and his bones, and his daughter's puppy will love it. Bai Xing just smiled and said to himself that it was exactly as he remembered. In his past life Kim died in a pollutant incident without giving him a chance to take action, and it was really regrettable for him. And he suddenly held the guy and told him that it was so loud, and asked that he sure ate a lot for breakfast. And also asked how much shit does his daughter's puppy have to take to feed that mouth of him. Kim got annoyed and wanted to punch him, but he was just teasing the guy to punch him in the face and said that if he was hurt, he might not pass the exam. And asked how he can explain to the boss if he can't pay the loan and told the guy that it was the one with no confidence. The guy releases him and tells him that he better pass or he will know. And Bai Xing pointed at Kim and told him that he had been marked and they will meet again soon, and not to run away from him. While he was going to leave, the students around him were chatting about him. And he was saying in his mind to keep what they were talking about, because it was human nature. 3 years ago, at the entrance exam site of Huawan City No. 2 Middle School, he recited in front of many people and said that his dream was to become a powerful sealer, and he wanted to defend mankind and seal all the pollutants in the world. Around the age of 16, some humans awakened special abilities that were unique to them. As long as they meet the 3 criteria of ability level and combat, they can become a sealer. That ability was a skill, and power level was the amount of energy you have. Like MP in a game, higher levels allow you to unleash your abilities more often and at higher intensity. The headmaster Pushkin came over and was having a look at him, and predicted his future. The headmaster said that although he can't see what he was going to awaken yet, but he can see him shining brightly among the stars. He thought the course of his life had changed, and his mother could hold her head high and buy the freshest vegetables, and his younger sister could buy her favorite long skirt to cover up the scars on her legs, and his father didn't have to move bricks at construction sites abroad anymore. And he thought he could talk to pretty girls with a straight face. And with that, countless news reports, multiple student loans, and big organizations threw an olive branch in advance. He was overwhelmed by the endless joy, and before he knew it, his powers awakened, the F-rank summon light sphere. A summon fist-sized ball of light with no heat, no effect, and no attack power, only illumination. The goodwill that suddenly appeared in his life instantly turned into evil spirits and poisonous miasma that demanded his life. Having awakened the trash power, he lost his qualifications as a human being. All the benefits were withdrawn, and only the small house was used to pay off the debt. His mother fell ill, and his father, who was set up by Kim Phuket to sign a loan shark contract, took his sister to hide abroad, and he was forced to take the sealer's entrance exam, and only after passed could he pay back the money. And he said that it was all far the same as it was in his memory. Including that girl, when all humanity was extinct only that girl could stay. And suddenly the woman announces that the pollutants for the exam have been released in the campus, and the sealer exam will begin soon. And told them to form their own team to search for pollutants and seal them, and no eternal force was allowed, and the entire process will be monitored and evaluated by the relevant personnel. And now she announced that the sealer exam has officially begun. And said good luck to all of them. Everyone was finding someone to form their team, and Bai Xing was just standing looking at them. This guy saw that many powerful students have already agreed to form a team before the exam begins, and said that it was a bit unfair to other students. And this girl said that sealers who fight alone don't last long, and the most effective sealing strategy was to form a group as soon as possible. And this woman was questioned about fairness, and said that completing tasks alive was the greatest fairness. Family, elders, money and power were also important components of strength. And said additionally that a living sealer was a useful sealer. The girl said that 95% of the examiners had found a team. The level of the school's members was slightly above average. And she reads the record, and it says there that there was 1 A-ranked ability, 3 B-ranked ability, 47 C-ranked ability, and 443 below C-rank ability. And said that in terms of power level, basically all of them were below 100. And then suddenly she saw something and asked how can they have 1200 power levels, and how can a person need a practical exam? And the man said that not only does he need an exam, but he doesn't have a team that wants him. Then Bai Xing saw someone that was E-rank and told it that since they can't find a team, and asked the guy if they should form a team together. The guy shouted to him and said who wants to team up with a loser like him, and it's because they were too close, that he was having trouble leveling up. And Bai Xing said to the guy that its ability was E only. The guy gets annoyed and suddenly punches him in the face and says to stay away from him and go home and drink his mother's milk. And the guy left him, and suddenly the woman came and gave him a handkerchief and said to wipe the blood on his mouth. And told him to be safe, because he hasn't awakened his powers yet. And said not to worry about her. It was a well-known fact that she was an incompetent person with 0 power and 0 power level. And Bai Xing told him that who knows what the future holds. And suddenly a guy approaches the woman and pleads to give him her personal information so that they can team up. The woman answered that her cousin hired a team to help her pass the exam. And she asked Bai Xing if the guy could come along. And she told the guy to take Bai Xing with them. And Bai Xing was asking why Yuexin helped him, and the woman answered that maybe sympathy, and told him not to think too much if he didn't want to. And Bai Xing pleaded with the guy to take good care of him. The guy asked how he knew his name, and Bai Xing answered that he just knew. And said that his light sphere can illuminate the unknown and he uses it to see into his mind. The deputy announces again that the exam has officially begun and pleaded to all teams to enter the school building area to search for and trigger pollutants. All of the students had entered the school building, and this C-rank student Lava Earth was hoping they could find some natural pollutants around there. And this D-rank student Plant Growth told the C-rank captain that she was sensing something in the flower beds through the plants. And this D-rank student Stun Stance said also that she will clear the way, and suddenly she shouted that it was coming. And a big cannibal for leaf demon clover E18, and a cannibal for leaf clover F3 quantity 18 appeared in front of them. And D-rank Plant Growth said that the 4 leaves were too many and he can't suppress them all. And their captain told D-rank Stun Stance to use stun and buy him some time. And so the Stun Stance releases a stun and tells his captain that she can only hold it for 8 seconds. And the captain told her that it was enough and used a lava jet, and all of the leaf clover burned. The captain laughed and said that the raid went well and asked if everyone was alright. D-rank Stun Stance told her captain that it was the core of the pollutant leader, and the captain told them that it should be referred to sealed cannibal for leaf demon clover E18, and he will hand over the task. Once planted, it will turn into a pollutant again, and no longer produce a leader, but a constant stream of cannibal for leaf clover F3, turning it into an infinite resource. And the captain was questioning about breeding, paper, and cultivating a mutated golden 5-leaf clover. And said additionally that the sealed objects were the most precious treasure of mankind and the glory of mankind would last forever. Bai Xing and his team were walking in the hallway, and Yuexin told them to stay alert, cause they will run into pollutants at any time. Bai Xing asked her what she was afraid of. Their captain was a B rank. Bai Xing was asking in his mind that they still haven't found it, and he was losing his patience with the captain. And their captain said that pollutants appear randomly, and they will look again. Bai Xing was thinking that a pollutant has a polluted domain ability, and the polluted domain was a separate space formed around a pollutant that's sealed off from the outside world. And suddenly the captain asked Bai Xing if he could check the warehouse using his light sphere to explore. And Yuexin told the captain that he should have flashlights to use on his own. Bai Xing said that he was so glad to use his light sphere because it was the first time anyone had said that they needed his powers. And got a feeling that they would find it soon. When Bai Xing runs, everyone is shocked when the floor he was stepping on turns into something. The deputy said that they lost surveillance of a group of students and it looks like the only C-class pollutant was triggered. The examiner said that it was okay, and dying was also a common occurrence. And Bai Xing's team appeared in the dark somewhere, and there was a crypt demon spider, C-124. Captain told them to stop and follow his lead and told C-rank sound control to keep controlling the noise, and don't let the demon spider wake up. And he told B-rank arachnid bloodline to go and try to subdue the demon spider. C-rank sound control asked why don't they clean Bai Xing first to reduce the burden. Yuexin asked what he meant, and said that the Ji family's money doesn't include killing innocent people. And the captain said Yuexin's request was an order, and told them to do not talk nonsense. The captain told Bai Xing to stay away and be a good streetlight. This B-rank said to hang up Bai Xing in the ceiling, so they will have a better view. Yuexin told them to be careful because something was not right, and she gets her sword and Bai Xing hold her hand, and she was asking what he was doing, and Bai Xing answered that it was a magic sword and they were both incapable of fighting, and so he told Yuexin to let him be a man to protect him. Yuexin got stunned with him, and Bai Xing told him not to look at his fragile appearance, because he was full of a sense of justice and responsibility, and he also had a very keen insight. Bai Xing didn't feel any shadow, and there was indeed something unusual. And suddenly he dropped the sword and was calling the second master of the Ji family, Ji Yueguang, to come out. And suddenly the guy appeared and said that he had good eyesight for a loser. And told him to join his research project that was about transferring his power level to him or he will pay for it. He was an A rank and had a black shadow ability. Yuexin was really shocked because it was her cousin. Bai Xing remembers that Ji Yueguang was the one who ordered the crypt demon spider to eat one of his arms and observe the changes in power levels. And spent time with Yuexin to spoil his enjoyment, and Bai Xing called him a scumbag and said that he will get all the taste of what it was like to be abused and killed. And it will be the time to awaken his true ability. And these guys said that it was not good and they needed to stop him or they were done for, and the captain shouted that they need to do everything they can. If they were not careful they would be killed. And suddenly staring at each other and laughs at Bai Xing. The captain said that second awakening only exists in manga and said that it was impossible, and told Bai Xing that if he could awaken, he would have done it by now. Ji Yueguang said not to worry about them and used his shadow power to Yuexin. He choked it and said that they will have some fun, and Yuexin was hurt. Yuexin told Bai Xing to run quickly, and the captain blocked Yuexin and told Bai Xing that if he could take his punch, he would let him go. The hand of the captain turned into stone rock and was laughing to Bai Xing, and the other rank was collecting the demon spider first. Yuexin was saying in her mind that there was no chance, and if she only awakened her power, she could kill them all by herself. Bai Xing told Yuexin that he was giving her a chance to change her destiny, and suddenly throw his light of sphere on the way to Yuexin, and Ji Yueguang uses his shadow wall to cover up, and he was shocked when the light of sphere got passed through his shadow wall that blocks all damage. And the light of the sphere awakened the power of Yuexin. And Ji Yueguang was asking what he saw, and Bai Xing's ball of light can help others awaken. And his cousin, who has been a loser for years, had become an awakener. And so he told Bai Xing that it did well and asked how about considering his previous proposal and work for him. Bai Xing answered that he declined and hated work the most. Besides, he was dead today, and no one will pay his wages anymore. And Ji Yueguang was shocked when Yuexin had awakened the ability of flames. Yuexin turns into A rank with the ability of thermal mastery and power level of 1200. Yuexin was really shocked because she had really awakened, and Bai Xing told her to stop standing and move. And Ji Yueguang told his cousin Yuexin that she got a fierce gaze and she had just awakened, and better familiarize herself with her abilities. And he told the captain to come and play with his cousin, and the captain was on his way to attack, but Yuexin struck him with the fire, and Ji Yueguang was really shocked, saying that it was really impossible, even he can't kill a B-rank sealer in one hit. And so he dived in his shadow and said that flame was a normal C-rank ability, but Yuexin awakened the advanced ability which was thermal. And said additionally that the disadvantages of that ability were obvious, and it can only control heat energy using itself as a carrier, and the attack range was very short. He was almost there, and his shadow dagger could reach Yuexin and kill her. And he was saying that for the sake of the Ji family's bright future and wanting his cousin to die right there. And Bai Xing was just laughing in the corner and just said that A rank ability and 1200 power level, crushing him was as easy as squashing a bug. Ji Yueguang was going to attack Yuexin, but Yuexin also struck him with a fire. After that attack, Yuexin was crying and shaking, and since she was totally naked, Bai Xing gave his coat and told Yuexin that it was normal for her heart to beat too fast in her first fight, and just to get used to it. And told that she had some spare clothes in her backpack and not to catch a cold. Yuexin was saying that she can't really believe it, Ji Yueguang has always been good to him but he tried to kill her. And Bai Xing told him not only that, but in order to take over the family head position, her parents might have also died a horrible death at Ji Yueguang's hand. And told Yuexin that she had to protect her parents with her own hands. Yuexin said thank you to him and suddenly fainted, and Bai Xing was thinking that it looked like it hit her pretty hard. He helped Ji Yuexin to awaken her thermal mastery ability, and after receiving the gift, he also gained the ability she awakened, and he also got 9 power level feedback from her. And suddenly B-rank arachnid bloodline was behind him, subdue the demon spider, and said that an opening, the awakened Ji Yuexin was fainted and still lacks combat power and he can kill him. The demon spider was attacking the two of them, and Bai Xing asked who says he doesn't have combat power. B-rank said that if he can hide once, he can hide twice and he will die today. Bai Xing was thinking that thermal mastery releases heat instantly, it forms a heat energy light once, and Ji Yuexin might have fainted because she lost too much heat, and he was asking what if it absorbs heat. He gets the water bottle and condenses water into ice, and it was an ice sword at absolute 0 degree. He was now in A rank with the ability thermal mastery and had a power level 1209. And now he was asking the B rank to tell him why he needed to hide. This B rank just told C rank sound control don't be afraid, and they will kill him because he knew that he got a trick in his sleeve. And the C rank sound control said not to worry because he had killed a few B ranks who despised him and wanted to bot him some time. And suddenly the demon spider releases the poisonous spider web, and Bai Xing uses 0 degree slash to freeze the spider web to powder. And he was asking if that was all and where was their arrogance. Then it was his turn to strike the spider with his frozen sword, and the B rank was hurt also. Bai Xing said that he still had a lot of inspiration to experiment with, and told the B rank not to die too soon. And he struck the spider's mouth and said what a waste of a lovely spider for him to manipulate, and as he was planning it really worked. He added the spider's poisonous blood and turned it into a poisonous ice sword, and as expected of him, it was really huge. He was saying that the experiment was over and he was going to strike the B rank with his poisonous sword, and then suddenly the B rank said that he can't kill him, because he was the one with the demon spider, and if he kills him, the polluted domain will break. And so Bai Xing stopped attacking the B rank and said in his mind that Ji Yueguang arranged the assassination with the aim utilizing the characteristics of the polluted domain to destroy all traces. And he had to keep the demon spider alive until it was done. And B rank arachnid bloodline thinking in his mind that it was an opportunity, and so he releases control with the demon spider. He was saying that his arachnid bloodline loses control of the demon spiders. It will unlock the polluted domain and run away when it feels its lives were in danger and they had the chance. The C rank was accumulating the power of sound and thinking that Bai Xing won't survive with it. The demon spider was attacking him and he was in trouble. The C rank sound control was giving an attack from which humans were not immune, and it was the sonic slam cannon. Bai Xing was really hurt and it was like he was going to be deaf, because the attack was so strong and he was shouting in pain. And the two of them were really happy, and the C rank said that it really worked, and as long as they were human, they all had the same weakness. B rank arachnid bloodline said to give Bai Xing a chance and he is going to kill him with a sword. Even the demon spider won't let him go. The demon spider was attacking him and he actively changed his ice sword into a shield and blocked the spider. And he feels great with it, and he was saying that from now on, he won't hesitate for a second to kill, and he won't feel the slightest bit guilty. He was now running away with the demon spider, and B rank told his companion to follow after Bai Xing and don't let him get away. And the C rank asked where Bai Xing can go, and told B rank to hold off and he will give Bai Xing another shot and it will be completely deaf. And he saw that Bai Xing was going over their captain's body and thinking that Bai Xing must be trying to threaten them with a hostage. And Bai Xing was just smiling and said that it was not a threat but it was for their own benefits. He uses his light sphere and granted the captain a 1200 power levels to retrieve the body, and obtains the rock fist ability 212 power points, and was thankful for the donations. And his hand turned into a giant rock fist and smashed the demon spider, and after it he used the light sphere again to get the ability of Ji Yueguang. And when the 2 rank was going to attack him he turned into shadow and his ability was to copy. C-rank said to hold on and he will kill the demon spider and unlock the polluted domain, and suddenly Bai Xing attacks him and vanishes in the shadow. B-rank arachnid bloodline was shaking and said that it would be too difficult for Bai Xing to persist in front of him. And Bai Xing appeared at his back and said to do him a favor and they will do one last experiment. And if he succeeds, he will bring a plague to all mankind and he will send him to hell himself. Bai Xing uses an ability combination, a rock fist forms the base, shadow magic reinforces and fuels it. And heat energy and sound waves combine to form a thermal energy cannon. And it was his special attack to kill Pushkin and he named it Hell Crusher Gold Cannon. Then he releases fire from it and the B-rank got hurt and burned. And his attack really works and went well. And the pollutant was sealed. He said that the traces inside were clean and so they were good to go. And suddenly the examiner and the deputy were looking at him and asking what he was doing there and where Ji Yueguang was. Bai Xing was thinking that accurately saying the name Ji Yueguang, it seems that they were colluding, and he remembered that Ji Yuexin died unprepared and unjustly in her previous life. And he answered the examiner that it sounded like Ji Yuexin's name and asked if it was her cousin. Bai Xing was thinking that the examiner knows the traits of the polluted domain very well. And when the boss was sealed, all inanimate matter would disappear, thinking that the examiner was part of the whole plan and must be thinking that it would fall into it. And suddenly a guy arrived and asked what happened to young Miss Yuexin, and told the guard to hurry up and take the young miss to the hospital. And so the man called the driver and this woman told them to change Yuexin clothes first. And Bai Xing told them not to worry about Yuexin because she was just exhausted. The butler asked him what happened and wanted his explanation. And suddenly the examiner said to arrest Bai Xing because she had something to ask him too. Everyone was around him and he was a little bit scared. This woman said that her vision has locked Bai Xing in and cannot escape her sight. And the woman deputy said that the exam also had problems as usual, and the man deputy said to get it over with, and he can finally take a long vacation. And Bai Xing told them that they were scaring him, and he will be honest. And asked if they could take away their powers first. And he was thinking that the abilities of these people were not yet clear, and the risk of facing them head-on was too high, and the two most dangerous ones. The butler told him that Yuexin's life was everything to him, and if she was in danger, he would tear him into 10,000 pieces. And those two were both experienced and capable, at least B-class or above, and their power level was not lower than 2,000. Even if he borrows Ji Yueguang's ability to become a shadow, he can't escape 100%, and his secrets will be exposed. And the examiner said that as the head of the examiner of the exam, she has the right to execute dangerous people who may endanger mankind, and told him that if he tells her the truth he will live. And Bai Xing just said thank you for all their attention, and asked them if it was okay to handle important matters one by one. And he suddenly showed the examiner his file and the polluted domain and asked if she could help them pass the exam first. And the examiner didn't answer him and just decomposed his file. And he was thinking that it must be the head examiner's ability, decomposing matter. The head examiner said that each of his fingernails contains an attack that can make him disappear in a single blow, and told him not to play tricks with her. And said additionally if he doesn't confess, he won't get another chance to take the exam, ever. The butler was asking what about their young miss, and the examiner answered that Yuexin will get the highest score getting out of the polluted domain alive as long as he doesn't stop her. And the butler told the examiner although he doesn't know the relationship between him and young Master Yueguang, at least they had reached an agreement for the time being. And suddenly told Bai Xing that he didn't seize his first chance, and took a punch from him first, then he will hear his defense. Bai Xing was saying in his mind that looks like a strength-type shifter, snake, dinosaur. And being able to rip him into 10,000 pieces isn't boasting. And he suddenly shouted that he will talk. And he just said that young Master Ji Yueguang asked him to keep it a secret, and wants to take the treasure from the school. And the examiner said that she can't sense Ji Yueguang's breath and he can't still be at school. And lying has its limits, her patience was wearing thin, and she will destroy his right hand first. She was going to hurt Bai Xing, but Bai Xing answered that it was Headmaster Pushkin treasure, and said additionally that young Master Ji Yueguang had sensed another polluted domain nearby. And the deputy told his sister that Principal Pushkin was the director of the National Superpower Research Institute, and they can't afford to offend him. And this female deputy said that as far as she knew, Principal Pushkin recently went to the neighboring city school to give a lecture. The examiner was analyzing when the polluted domain was conquered, it caused changes in another polluted domain, and asked if Ji Yueguang sensed it and went there immediately. And if Headmaster Pushkin was hiding a polluted domain in the school, Ji Yueguang calls it a treasure. And that's what he was really after. And analyzing that Yueguang didn't kill Bai Xing and the Ji family girl, and they were still useful. Yue Guang trusted her and wanted her to keep them in custody first to avoid leaking the secret. But her concern led to chaos, causing Ji's family to arrive, and letting his secret be made public, and she was the one who missed the first opportunity. And the examiner told Bai Xing to take them to Ji Yue Guang immediately. And Bai Xing was saying in his mind that it doesn't matter. After he meets up with him, they will just kill everyone there. The man told the butler that their Miss Yuexin was not in danger, but she still can't wake up and they will use the floating bear ship to take her to the hospital first. Bai Xing was looking at Yuexin and said that those people don't know where they stand, and it was not easy for her either, and asked if they could still see each other alive. And Bai Xing told himself that he had been pushed to the brink, so they will go to the brink together. They were heading to the building and the student was asking if isn't he was the king of the lamp factory. Bai Xing and the other answered that he doesn't know how Bai Xing offends the head examiner, serves him right, and the woman was laughing and said that maybe Bai Xing got caught cheating, and after all he was incapable. Said and asked additionally that Bai Xing was kicked out halfway because he was too useless. Bai Xing told the examiner that he saw young Master Yue Guang come that way, and mentioned Headmaster Pushkin, and told them that maybe they can check out the headmaster's office. When they were inside, Bai Xing told the shadow to go, and the shadow was heading to the headmaster's office. And when the deputy opened the door they saw Yue Guang's shadow, and the examiner asked what he was doing and why he was in a shadow form. Bai Xing was thinking and saying thank you to the Pushkin, because he came there in his past life and it was really memorable. And suddenly the shadow gets the statue and throws it to the examiner, and the examiner was really shocked, and Bai Xing ordered the S-class polluted domain to open. At the Beijiang City Joint University, a man was enlightened that the polluted domain refers to the area dominated by the power of pollutants, and the rules of the real world were rewritten to varying degrees in the area. And also said that the ability and level of the boss determine the rules. A C-rank pollution domain was not yet a threat. And above C-rank, in the some pollution domain it will cause people to be unknowingly poisoned, and their whole body will be festering. In some cases, people may fall into dreams from which they cannot wake up, and some bosses will kill anyone in a city who hears their footsteps. And said additionally to defeat the boss in order to lift the polluted domain, the most important prerequisite for surviving and defeating the boss was to know the domain rules. And the man who was enlightening the matter was A-rank Pushkin with the ability to foresee the future. And this one asked if the case mentioned by the headmaster could be one of the recent hot topic A-rank pollute domain incidents. And this woman was asking how could the A-rank record be made public and has the situation gotten that bad. And this big man said that he didn't understand and asked if he could explain. And the man whispered to him that he didn't know that when he first became a sealer, and he heard it from the neighbor who works in the relevant department. And said additionally that pollutant levels were not determined by the power level, but by the casualty data for sealers of the same level, and a pollutant incident with a casualty rate of 90% or more will be classified as A-class. Pollutants that can be sealed will bring huge profits, and all files above A rank will be sealed. The S-class seal was a national strategic resource. The fact that the headmaster tells newcomers like them about the A-class file means either that the A-class pollutant was no longer a threat, or that a higher level had become so widespread that it's impossible to control. And suddenly the Pushkin told them to be quiet and said that some of them already knew that the pollutants were appearing more and more frequently and that the future of humanity needed to know more, which was why he was there. The Pushkin said that A-class pollutants had over 80% casualty rate in polluted domains. Above S-class, more than 90% had a polluted domain, and for S-class pollutants that casualty rate was 99%. The university was full of confusion, asking what if they met them they would die, and has the previous S-class incident really been resolved, and they need an explanation. And wanting someone to save them. This woman told the headmaster Pushkin, as the world's strongest prophet, and asked if he can tell them if humanity will perish. The headmaster Pushkin said that it was a good question, and his answer was that in 3 months, the fate of humanity will usher in a turning point. Back at the headmaster's office, the examiner was asking what was going on and if they had been caught in the polluted domain, and wanted the shadow to answer her. And then suddenly the shadow dived into Bai Xing's body, and the examiner was really shocked. Bai Xing uses a shadow dive to escape, and the examiner tells everyone inside to stop Bai Xing. The deputy said that he will stop him, and he uses deep-sea captivity, and Bai Xing was a little bit shocked with it. The deputy said that he may be a B-class, but a person imprisoned by his tentacle was like being subdued in the deep sea, and even an A-class sealer can't escape. And he was a B-rank with the ability of deep-sea touch. And Bai Xing uses shadowing and dives through the floor, and the deputy said that his aura was locked by his tentacles and he can't escape. And Bai Xing answered him if that was so, and asked if he could also lock him if he blended into the shadow of the building. And the woman deputy said that he was thinking that she doesn't exist. She was a B rank with the ability of electric pixie and a power level 932. And she uses a high-frequency laser flash and tells Bai Xing that even if it doesn't hit him, using a high-frequency light to dispel any shadows in the room can cut off his escape route. The man was laughing at him and teasing him to keep running, and Bai Xing was being held with its tentacles, and he was asking how can a tentacle touch his shadowed body and how can an aura lock be so invulnerable. The examiner came over to him and asked how he had Yue Guang's powers and told him that he only got one chance to answer. Bai Xing shadow smile and asked the examiner what was the sharpest sound, and the examiner gets angry and told him to go to hell and wanted to annihilate him, but Bai Xing uses sonic slam cannon to attack them and in order the glass with the windows to break and damage their ears. The examiner was asking where did Bai Xing go, and he couldn't get far after being hit by his annihilate and told the two ranks to follow Bai Xing, and then suddenly the butler arrived and advised them to save their life and said that the scope of pollute domain was at least A class and he will be going to young Mrs. side and then he leaves. The examiner was asking in her mind that the lizard hasn't said a word since just then and what had the lizard found out. And said in her mind that the G family's research on pollutants was unique, and that's why that person asked her to help Ji Yue Guang annex the G family. And so she told the deputies to follow the lizard closely and find a way to leave the polluted domain. The students were asking what was happening to the weather and what's going on. The guy guessed that maybe it was the next round of the sealer exam, and what a bunch of noobs. And the other guy said that it was the polluted domain, and there was a pollutant in the school and he was asking where the teachers were. Bai Xing was on top and he said to himself that after birth, he still lost his arm and he was asking if it was the powers of fate and he doesn't believe it and he will win this time. And said that he will wait for Pushkin's death and he will never let him succeed in 3 months. And this time he will take everything from the Pushkins first. D-rank stun stance asked what was going on, and this guy was shouting that the whole school was covered and they can't escape. C-rank lava earth was asking if it was the part of the exam and said that they can't wait to die, and he can use those students to figure out the rules, whether they die or not, and he had to live. And so he called everyone to come and listen to him and tell them that he got inside information, and it was another part of the exam. And said additionally that the examiner might be watching from somewhere and that they need to work together to get a better grade. And he told everyone that he only had a C grade, but he majored in tactical planning and got an A+ grade and he will definitely be able to take them out. D-rank stun stance told every that their captain will lead them through the seal with ease and listen to him. This guy said that C-rank lava earth was getting ahead of him and analyzed in his mind that if C-rank can become a captain, he will have a much better chance of surviving and getting a higher grade. This B-rank said to the captain that he heard of him and he would like to follow him and asked if he can see his ability. C-rank lava earth was thinking that this B-rank wanted to be the leader. And C-rank lava earth said that it's what he was trying to do. That they will get to know each other better and be able to work together better. Then he showed his ability lava earth and told everyone that his ability can only be used once in a very short period of time after being used with destructive power and range, and then suddenly a big bull attacked and crashed him and everybody was shocked and the guy shouted that the worst case scenario has occurred, and it must be a kill rule. And this guy shouted and asked which rule has the C-rank triggered, is it to activate an ability and die, does he die when he destroys terrain or a stance change? Stun stance was so sad and crying for her captain. And suddenly the bull crashed into him and the other two that were behind him and attacked everyone ahead. Bai Xing was looking at the top and was saying that in front of pollutants, human life was like fireworks. And in their world, it's just a matter of dying sooner or later. And said additionally that in 3 months, Pushkin will release the demon bull. After a day and a half, only a few dozen people will be left in Huawan City. And that final blow turned Huawan City into a deep pit with no grass left. Compared to that, he was asking what was the point of fighting and surviving now. And this woman was kneeling and asking why it was happening and asking for help. And Bai Xing answered in his mind that it was happening because there has been a massive environmental change, and the boss in the field has been activated, unless someone deciphers the most detailed rules, or comes back from the dead like him. This was the Golden Bull Rush, an S-rank pollutant named by Pushkin. When it is activated, any small color change will cause wrath. And confrontations lead to death. Running around leads to death, doing nothing leads to death, and triggering the rule leads to endless death. And he was asking why the rule is color change and not environmental or physical change. And he answered his own question that it was because in their eyes, living people, buildings, plants and trees make no difference, they were all the same and the more anger, the larger the area of pollution, the stricter the rules. And this dangerous monster has been turned into a weapon with a kill rule by Pushkin. And his ambition was as terrifying as his strength. He jumped from the top and used the thermal mastery control to land. It instantly heats the air beneath the feet and harnesses the power of air expansion. And he said that from now on he will be careful with the rule. If he uses his shadowing ability to turn his body into a shadow, he will be crushed into a bloody mist by the demon bull in no time. It was afternoon and time was running out. The intense changes in brightness caused by sunlight can also trigger deadly attacks, especially when day and night change. And he doesn't dare to recall it, and he will pray for a cloudless sky first, and he will find Ji Yuexin and save her. Outside the building, the lizard was running too fast and the woman behind him said that she doesn't have the stamina and asked if aren't they were going after Bai Xing and why don't they just leave. The lizard told her that they were the head's direct descendants, and they were Miss Yuexin butlers and Miss Yuexin's safety was the most important thing and said to keep an eye on young Master Yue Guang and don't let herself be used as a tool, especially that head examiner, because she was very abnormal. And the woman told the lizard that he was the one who beat and killed him and the lizard answered that Bai Xing saved their Miss Yuexin's life, so he pretended to follow her and now that Bai Xing escaped, he doesn't need his protection. The woman was saying in his mind that her young master Yue Guang was right, the family head was capable of handling things without any good-for-nothings, and what's the point of being smart and so she stared to the lizard and said that she will kill him now to make way for young master Yue Guang. The lizard was opening the door of the van and he was asking how the young miss and the guy answered that the young miss was still unconscious, and the doctor said to wait. And the guy and the woman were staring at each other and said in their mind to get ready. And the bomb under the car was enough to send them both to heaven. Pinching the energy light switch and another light ball placed next to the bomb will create an impact that will detonate the bomb. And the guy said that unlike the newcomer, he grew up with young Master Yue Guang and young Miss Loser, and he had risen from E rank to C rank. His background was good and his strength was proof. And after young Master Yue Guang takes over as head of the family, he would naturally be able to rise. And he said sorry to the young miss, but he wanted that wonderful life so badly. He was now going to pinch the button on his hand but the woman stopped him and said to wait because they were following. And it was the examiner and the deputies. The examiner said to them to ask their boss to come out, because the polluted domain isn't simple, and they need to cooperate. And analyzing in his mind that if Yue Guang was still around, he could have just ordered those people. He was gone, but Ji's daughter was still alive. And if he kills her now on the one hand, she will lose his teammates and will not be able to leave the polluted domain. On the other hand, if an outsider messes with the Ji family's people and ruins that person's plans, he could be directly annihilated. And then suddenly the lizard came out to the car and said that he heard them and he told the examiner that he doesn't want to cooperate with him, because he had to ensure young Mrs. safety first. The examiner told the lizard that he was asking the right person and he had a way to keep the young miss from being killed in this polluted domain, but only if she got out of there alive. And said additionally that the power of annihilation attached to his finger came from one of the higher-ups and her real ability was a special backpack. And the guy was really amazed and said that it was a rare special ability. If she opens the backpack and hides in it, she can avoid all dangers. And the deputy asked his sister why she was saying it right now and wanted to get inside quickly. The lizard laughs and says that he sees that she can provide a shelter for young miss, and they will work together to escape. The examiner was asking why they would escape, and said to the lizard that he came from the famous Ji family, who made fortune by researching pollutants and suddenly asked why don't he seal the pollutant and how could he give up such a high-level pollutant. The lizard said that the more he learnt, the more he was afraid. And said that in the face of pollutants with a polluted domain, there was another ironclad rule in addition to knowing the rule. And that pollutants were infinite and humans cannot fight them, and the only thing that can fight a pollutant was another pollutant. The examiner said to cut the crap. The special backpack was only 2 cubic meters long, and with her there was only room for 3, so if they don't break through the polluted domain, half of them will be killed or injured. The lizard slammed the door of the car and answered a deal, and said that when the crisis comes, let the young miss go in first. Her plan was to gather all the living students and gather information, and the lizard told her that it was a bad idea. The more people there were, the greater the chance of triggering the rules, and said to let them be, because they need to ask the dead for information, not the living. The lizard told the woman to use her vision to look at the traces of death, and they will analyze them. And so the woman uses his vision and it marks all humans she sees and selects one to follow by sight at any time, so can die. The examiner was saying in his mind that the lizard was a wise person, and didn't pin his hopes on others. And so she told the deputies to check all student information, starting from A rank downwards and lock the information photo and use the tentacles to grab the person. And thinking that it was too slow to ask the dead for information, and let the living people die for her, and she will add a few good words to their CVS. The woman deputy said that the first one was an A-rank candidate, named Yin Xiao Xiao. And Bai Xing was listening to them using the amplified sound, in effect, and said how Ruthless, grabbing students to test the rules for them. And thinking that it doesn't matter how many of the others die, but how he got Guexin and said that dinosaur guy seems to be loyal to his master, but they were all mixed up together. And then suddenly he was shocked when there was a girl behind him and the girl said not to kill her because she was useful. And Bai Xing asked what was her use and to prove it to him in one sentence. The girl said that she was Yin Xiao Xiao and the deputy tentacles will catch her in 17 seconds, and wanted to use her as bait so he can retrieve his ability. And Bai Xing was saying in his mind that the girl was an A-class and he asked what her ability was and choked the girl. And suddenly the girl said that the tentacles were there and Bai Xing was smiling and said that they would realize that ignoring him was their biggest mistake and bestowed Yin Xiao Xiao's mind probe ability and retrieve B-rank ability Deep Sea Touch. He ordered the change color to shadow the unconscious guy and the lizard told them to back up and the big bull crashed the deputy, and the examiner was really shocked and so she uses her special backpack to escape and Bai Xing uses his Hell Crusher gold cannon to attack the other. And he asked the girl if it was cool and the girl was really shocked and speechless with him. The girl was saying in his mind that Bai Xing was really strong, and also said that it only took a few seconds to formulate such a brilliant counterattack plan. And she was mesmerizing in his mind that Bai Xing was able to give her a power and his tentacles at the same time, and then withdraw it in an instant. And when the examiner was knocked unconscious, he was covered in shadow and changed color triggering the rule. At the same time as the demon bull hit, a powerful long-range cannon hit the examiner, making sure that he was dead and trying to create more of an impact. Immediately following the cannon, he hit a ball of light with the cannon preventing the others from returning to help. The ball of light quickly entered in the woman named Lu Fengyi and stole her abilities. And massive heat caused a color change in the ground leading to a second impact from the demon bull. If someone had come back to help, they would have hit it right away, and then more battle strategies would have been added. And she was really amazed by what a fast reaction speed, what a terrifying battle sense, what a decisive action, and what a ruthless heart. The series of powerful attacks will cause a famous A-rank expert to suffer great losses in his hands. Besides, the result of his mind probe was the same. He knew the rules and was manipulating them and she has a hope for her survival. And Bai Xing was teasing the girl to keep praising and asked if he wanted her to save her life with just a few words. The girl answered with teary eyes that he took away her abilities too and so her heart was, and then suddenly Bai Xing showed a clingy face and told her that it was right and he had seen everything. The girl felt embarrassed and Bai Xing told her to shut up and be quiet, and said in his mind that if she weren't useful, he would have killed her. And he does need help, who can communicate with him silently through a mind probe. And suddenly told the girl that she was qualified, and if she cooperated with him in gathering students with potential and let them give him their abilities, she would live. He bestowed her the Rock Fist ability and 1000 power level was enough for her to suppress all the students. And said that time was of essence and they needed to move. And told the girl that he sensed her in the entire polluted domain and not to try to escape and the girl answered yes in it. And so the girl moves and she feels great because not only will survive, but so will most of her classmates. And Bai Xing showed her the plan in his mind in a very short time. The rules of the polluted domain, the way to seal the pollutants, and the strategy for dealing with his enemies and how much ability she could help him gather was very important. And she had been searching for life with her mind probe ever since the polluted domain opened, and she wasn't expecting such a surprise. And said additionally that Bai Xing was going to be a great man in the future and she was with the right man. The lizard was still alive and the guy asked if Lu Fengyi was dead, and suddenly Bai Xing told them that they were all alive. And said that the head examiner seems to want to continue to hide in the space backpack, and then the lizard was heading toward him and told the guy to take care of the young miss in the car. Bai Xing kneeled and told the lizard not to act rashly, because he can instantly trigger a rule attack, and it will be even more powerful than the two just now and just bake the ground until it changes color. And then suddenly he uses sound control in effect and says to the lizard the long story short that Yue Guang wants to kill Guexin and take away the position of the family head. The examiner and the two people beside him were his people, and there was a bomb planted under the car, and it was obvious. After the lizard heard it, he got heated and asked Bai Xing how dare threaten him with young Mrs. Life. And said that whether it was true or not, the Ji family was in an internal fight, and the weak were only looking for death. Bai Xing asked him if he wanted to test him and coincidentally, he also wanted to try out his new ability and he uses Deep Sea Touch to attack the lizard's arm, and he was saying in his mind that what a strength and a close combat was the forte. And with 1000 power levels, it was still not strong enough to crush the dinosaur. The lizard laughed and asked him if that was what he got. Bai Xing was reflecting that shadowing and thermal mastery were easy to trigger the rules, and the other abilities were support type, and the only solution was to quickly bestow and retrieve the power to transform, but that would also trigger the rules. And so he shouted to Wang Sai and asked what he was waiting for, and that brother Yue Guang wanted him to take care of Jin Yuexin and told him to hurry up because he can't stand it anymore. And so the lizard turned his face to the guy, and the guy was really shocked by what Bai Xing said to him, and he just answered okay for it. Wang Sai said to himself that he knew brother Yue Guang didn't give up on him, but the lizard was running towards him and held him up and slowly crushed him, and he said that he was unwilling and wanted to explode together. And Bai Xing retrieved the ability of Wang Sai, and the lizard threw away the guy and the demon bull crashed out. The lizard told Bai Xing that he made him kill Wang Sai and there were other ways. Bai Xing uses sound control and effect again and says to the lizard that he doesn't care if he all lives or dies. If he can keep Ji Yuexin safe, he will be worth something. And he was going to give him a test, too. And listen to his words. And he was calling the head examiner and asked if she was not going to come out, and told her that it was safe now. As long as she is not wearing blood-stained clothes, she will be fine. And said additionally that Ji Yue Guang was dead, and not to follow him in his evil deeds, and from now on, they should take care of plants and trees to protect the environment. And he ordered the deep sea touch to suppress the pixie woman, and the woman couldn't activate her abilities. And Bai Xing smiled and told the woman that her abilities were his abilities now. This guy said and shouted to everyone not to be afraid, because at the moment, he will take out the sealed item that he had treasured for so long, and then he uses his banknote protection and it lit up and colored, and so the rule was triggered and the demon bull strike him and he was being executed. This guy said that Zhang Tian prepared a valuable seal for the exam, which was very effective in protecting his own life, but he still triggered the rules. This guy was analyzing that Chen Ziho's summon lava, Peng Cheng's water link turned the ground into a lake, connecting it to the waters outside, and it means that changing the environment was prohibited. The guy said that at the beginning Lin Guohao transformed into a bird once, and at that time, the transformation was still safe, and it was Lin Ziho who was the first trigger the rules, and this guy was getting confused with the situation and asked were the rules getting stricter over time and what do those deaths have in common. The other guy covered his mouth and told everyone that if they want to live, keep quiet, don't try to make any changes, and don't even use their abilities. And he had a very bad theory and said that what drives the rules to become stricter may be the number of times they were triggered. And the guy shouted again that the bull monster was getting bigger and bigger. And it was growing into their lives and their fears. Perhaps in a few moments breathing will trigger the rule of instant death. And the guy was really shocked and asked what a joke it was, and if the more experiments they did, the more they blocked the way out. And the guy was so worried, asking who the hell created those unsolvable rules, why they needed to set the rules, why they were screwed, and who was going to save them. The guy was confused and said that the speed of light was 300,000 meters per second, people were dying and there were 60 seconds in a minute, and who the hell knows who made those rules. And told the other guy that he doesn't care, but he had to survive because the two of them were the strongest B ranks and they had to find a way to crack the rules. And suddenly someone said that the specific rule was color change, and it was Yin Xiaoxiao strongest and only A rank mind reader among the current students, and told them that she was the only one can save them, and she can probe minds, feel thoughts, and uncover the secrets of the human heart, and not only do she had a strong sixth sense, but she can also sense mental fluctuations that were unfavorable to her. And said additionally that just now in her panic, she sensed the killing intent of certain death, so she used her wide-ranging mind probe and found something very interesting. And the guy that wanted to know it, and the girl said that Bai Xing was a regressor who knows the changes in the future and was preparing to destroy all of humanity. And he spurns his human identity and has a plan to destroy the world, and someone has to stop him. And she uses the mind transmission and showed the scene of their encounter just now. And the two of them were really shocked and said that Bai Xing was really so strong and asked how they dealt with him. And the girl told them that Bai Xing was a mind reader now, and they have no secrets from him either. Yin Xiaoxiao smiled at them and said that the strength of a sealer isn't absolutely determined by his power level and ability, and roughly devouring a large number of abilities without digging deep into the potential of each ability was a flaw. And said additionally that as a mind reader, she can see everything about him, but he can only see his disguise by using a mind probe on yourself. You can close the energy cycle and create a mental barrier, and this barrier will also protect you from any leakage of your thoughts. And she pointed the two guy and said to other one that it can fire energy projectiles from any part of his body by using energy channel to penetrate his entire body, and the other one can also compress a large amount of air, so he can get a large amount of oxygen in a short period of time and improve his physical fitness. And that proves that they have a good IQ and brains. And the two of them now were talking that their secrets have been seen because the girl was the mind reader. And the girl smiled and said that she chose the right partners and wanted to join her in saving humanity. And they said that it was definitely possible, and asked if she wanted to pick all of the students as if they were crops and no one would allow such an evil thing to happen. And said additionally that they must unite, they will devise a plan based on their abilities that won't be detected and to defeat Bai Xing and they will win. Yin Xiao was smiling looking at them and thinking in her mind that students were so easy to manipulate, who made the mind reader the most bug of all the sealers. And said additionally that the world has no secrets from her and she will take those future opportunities to Bai Xing's memory and before getting it, she pretends to have a mental fluctuation that he can trust. And she was fantasizing that Bai Xing was her savior and she would cling to him for the rest of her life and all students were his food and she must pave the way for him and his secret cannot be revealed and she really wanted to say out loud that he was so handsome. And back to Bai Xing and the lizard's conflict and Bai Xing was thinking that he had the upper hand in the battle, and as soon as the head examiner showed her face, he would launch a fierce attack. And the examiner also seems to understand that staying in the space backpack was invincible and he thought all three examiners were inexperienced in combat and only relied on their abilities. And then he told Ji Renha that he was leaving and wanted the lizard to protect Ji Yuexin and kill the remaining examiner, and he will be deemed to have passed the test. And he uses the energy light to flew up the building and Ji Renha was analyzing that Bai Xing stole Wang Sai's ability and in that case, his young master Yue Guang's shadow ability was also stolen and with such an evil devouring power, and asked why did Bai Xing remain unknown and also to his young miss. And said that he won't be easy, but he will show him the true strength of the Ji family, and the clues he knows now were as follows. And he also asked him to look after the young miss, thinking that Bai Xing has the chance to take his young miss away. And suddenly the examiner came out to his space backpack and said that she wanted to go to the beach for vacation right after the exam, but she didn't bring any spare clothes. And she told the lizard that she could have stayed hidden until the incident was over, but the scourge was causing an S-level incident and persecuting her kind and wanted the lizard to work together with her to catch Bai Xing and asked if they could. Her priority was to win over the people of the Ji family, hand that kid and the girl from the Ji family over to that person or she will be in danger. And Ji Renha said that he agreed with her and pleaded to put his young miss in her space backpack so that they can lower their guard and work together. And the examiner told him that there were still smart people in the Ji family, and he can come and work for her in the future and he can set any conditions. And the lizard said not to worry because there was a solution to the exam now. All of the students were ready to attack Bai Xing and Yin Xiao thinking in her mind that what a pretty good plan, to be able to think of strategies to avoid and reverse the use of mind probes and those two would make good henchmen. And she acted and smiled and said that Principal Pushkin believes that Bai Xing were more like a pollutant than human and must be sealed for the benefit of humanity, and said additionally that she changed her mind too, before Bai Xing grows stronger, she will be imprisoned there and become her slave. In this lab, Bai Xing was saying to the headmaster Pushkin to let him go and he will do anything. After being sold by the wretched rich, headmaster Pushkin, who had discovered his talent, bought him. He thought he would save him, but surgical scalpel blade number 20, good for cutting through skin, fainted and woke up, but he didn't die. And he was guessing that maybe Master Pushkin kept him alive, to let him watch helplessly as he took away everything from his heart, liver, organs, lungs, gallbladder, limbs, and skin. Master Pushkin held his hand and said that only his right hand left, to prevent the power of his right hand from transferring to other limbs after his death, and he will seal the other parts. The girl with purple hair said okay and she will hold on to him. She said that it was the most precious divine hand that could potentially end the age of pollutants. Master Pushkin came out and Bai Xing told the girl to kill him, and the woman answered yes, but he had to promise her one thing. She puts Bai Xing's hand on her face and told him that he didn't know how special his power was, the light sphere can bestow divine power on others. And said additionally that to do that, the headmaster Pushkin would foresee each time he awakened to use his abilities, and guide him to a different destiny. The woman came closer to his face and said that headmaster Pushkin was the smartest human in the world and could calculate everything, but he couldn't figure out if rebirth could be enhanced by the light sphere into eternal life. Bai Xing was staggered and the woman said that she was afraid of being sold by him, that she never dared to disobey him, and even when he asked her to participate in the pollutant incident, she didn't refuse, just to limit her awakening. The woman was still holding Bai Xing's hand and told him that since he was going to die, then give her the light sphere and she will give him a good time. Bai Xing was nervous and sweating and said that he would give it to her, so Bai Xing released his light sphere and gave it to the woman and the woman said yes, and wanted the little thing to get inside her, and let the light sphere stay inside her forever. Bai Xing feels like he had triggered his ability, and he suddenly asks why everyone treats him like he was weak, like he was some kind of piglet to be slaughtered. And so he retrieved his light sphere, and all of a sudden Master Pushkin opened the door and Bai Xing was asking if he saw his death coming. Bai Xing got one of the scalpel and pierced his right eye. After that incident, Bai Xing asked Yin Xiaoxiao if do mind readers feel the same pain when they go through other people's memories. Yin Xiaoxiao was really shocked and asked where he was, and Bai Xing answered that she knew where, and asked if she still had other secrets. Yin Xiaoxiao saw Bai Xing on top of the building and asked why he was standing so far away. And she wanted Bai Xing to come down there. The students are very grateful to him. Bai Xing told her that they will use a mind probe to communicate, and he was quiet and shy, so the distance is perfect. Since she can read minds at will, and asked what she thinks of pollutants people. And Yin Xiaoxiao asking how a person can be a pollutant, and guessing that Bai Xing was referring to the opinion expressed by some minor experts that human power comes from pollutants. And Yin Xiaoxiao said that he can jump 3 meters, run the 100 meters in 3 seconds, and throw a balloon like a bomb. Even if he blows through his eardrums with sound, his body can quickly repair it. Even if he was burnt to a crisp by a superhead heat bomb, he can still hold his breath, but apart from the mutation of the body, the human heart was even more seriously polluted. Bai Xing told Yin Xiaoxiao that food safety, human trafficking, bullying and oppression, big countries arbitrarily lead wars, and small countries are divided into rich and poor. Even the sealer exam must adhere to the policy of cultivating insects, and human life is as cheap as grass. Yin Xiaoxiao laughed and said that they were still students and not to worry too much. It was normal for adolescent boys to have dreams of changing the world. Bai Xing gets annoyed and asks if it was normal for them to gather against him, and Yin Xiaoxiao was staggered and asked if the mental barrier did not work, and said that it was impossible and how he found out. Bai Xing smiled and bowed down his head and said that he had never trusted humans, and he was careful in his actions. And he had given her his memories to watch, but hasn't had a single care or pity and doesn't treat one's own kind like cattle to prove one was pollutant. Yin Xiaoxiao said that there was a limit to what he can dream. Humanity needs the ultimate power to end the age of pollutants, and all sacrifices are worth it. Bai Xing questioned her and said that was an understatement because she was not an A-rank talent, or maybe she can sacrifice her abilities and power levels to him. Yin Xiaoxiao was really vexed and said that he was crazy and a demon. Yin Xiaoxiao told the students to attack Bai Xing quickly, and he was in the school building and he had sealed the boss inside his body. And she wanted the students to kill Bai Xing and everyone will be saved. Everyone was in chaos and staggered, and there was no other way. They can only attack, kill him and they will escape. The boy told the students to be careful not to trigger the rules. His energy channel can collect everyone's energy and concentrate, and the other guy said to concentrate on him, and only he can attack from a distance. After receiving everyone's power, compression might be able to kill him in one strike. Yin Xiaoxiao laughed and asked Bai Xing how dare him to indiscriminately slaughter hundreds of students. The guy said that it was coming and his power level was soaring. Bai Xing didn't react and was just looking at the student. And all of the sudden pointed up and a shadow surrounded by pixie flew up in the sky. Yin Xiaoxiao was really shocked and said that when she read it, Bai Xing asked the electric pixie to use energy light to hang the shadow clone in the sky. And as soon as the electric pixie sends a bright light behind the shadow, the black shadow will cover them and trigger the rule. Sound control volume amplification, and Bai Xing smiled and said that it was right. When an object loses its light, it also loses its color, which also triggers the rules. The guy shouted that it was not good and they can't let Bai Xing succeed. And the other guy said that compression can only target entities, his shadows are not affected. Bai Xing stood up and said that if they wanted to warn him, he was just trying to protect himself and he promised they would die when they attacked him. And all of a sudden the guy shouted to Bai Xing that he knew that he can read minds, and he suddenly pointed at Yin Xiaoxiao and said that it was her idea and not to kill him. Bai Xing said that it was fine, he won't kill them if they give up their ability. He retrieved the B-rank energy channel. It was to build any form of energy channel, and can concentrate, split, and export energy. Bai Xing was really happy and said that it was not a bad ability, and he can build a channel in the body, connect the right hand, and use any part to bestow it. And so he releases many light sphere and retrieved them all, and everyone's abilities were concentrated on him. And he said that he thought highly of him, but they all have low rank abilities, and asked if the high-ranking one died early. The guy was really weak and said that Bai Xing took all their abilities and power levels, and he never felt so weak, and he can't breathe. Yin Xiao Xiao was really vexed, saying that Bai Xing was a demon and the headmaster won't let him go. Bai Xing turned back and walked through, and said that if they attacked him, they would have to pay the price. Leaving only one power level was a punishment for them. They will not faint. When day and night alternate, they will see the demon bull descending from the sky, and no one can escape. After the night, he will have the chance to seal the golden bull. Headmaster Pushkin was in his office preparing something and all of a sudden said that something bad has happened at the school and they will hurry back. The woman told the headmaster Pushkin, if he was in a hurry, he could rent a private plane, and asked why he was driving. Headmaster Pushkin laughed and said that old people tend to be more traditional, and there was an old man in the sky who didn't like him. Headmaster Pushkin told the woman named Sui to stay there, and he will go back with Lin Chi. And the woman answered okay. Headmaster Pushkin told Lin Chi that he can't handle those seals without her. Lin Chi said that the bull's seal was lifted, and her powers have been restored, and it will be easy to seal it again. Headmaster Pushkin said that won't work for nothing and wanted her to pick one of his collections. They were going to leave, and Sui glared at Lin Chi, and Lin Chi was teasing her with a funny face. Lin Chi was an S rank, with the ability Golden Blood and a power level 27,431. Miss Yueshing was on the stretcher, held by the butler, and the examiner opened her space backpack and told the lizard to hurry up. After putting Yueshing in, they have to work together to catch that kid. And so the lizard was going to put Yueshing on the space backpack, and the examiner told him to hurry up. But all of a sudden the lizard slid away to the space backpack together with his Miss Yueshing. And the examiner closed her space backpack and asked the lizard how he found out. The lizard put down the young miss and asked the examiner that after she put the young miss in, she was going in too, didn't she? And the head examiner answered that she heard what he said before he left. Both physical changes and environmental changes will trigger the rules, considering Hu Ming's death, and it's probably true. And he tipped him off, so she went ahead, and with the power of annihilation under her fingernails, he must obey her. The lizard said that from his observation, her nails will also change color after using that ability, and she will also face danger. The examiner smiled and asked if doing nothing dangerous, and it was enough to kill them all the moment the rules were triggered. And she will keep pointing like that until he brings her the boy. And all of a sudden the lizard said wait, and he will do it, and he understands, so let the young miss enter her space backpack and he will leave in peace. And also said that the doctor was a harmless ordinary doctor with no powers, and told the examiner to open the space backpack door to the farthest place and let the doctor put the young miss in. And so the examiner said that it was a deal and opened the space backpack on her side, and still her fingers were painting to them. The lizard was thinking in his mind that the examiner would take her 3 seconds to open the space backpack by hand. And taking away his cue, she secretly opens the door at 2 meters, although the doctor cannot threaten her. However, it will take her 1 second to hide the space backpack. And it was a gamble. The doctor walked through, but he suddenly wiggled his tail to the doctor's feet, and the doctor took down on the ground. The examiner was staggered and her attention was diverted, and all of a sudden he held up the van and threw it on the examiner and told the examiner that she was seeking death. The examiner was asking and choosing an option. Option 1, destroy the car. Option 2, reopen the portal on her side, or option 3, jump through the open portal. And suddenly said that option 3 was the wisest option, but the butler uses T-Rex roar and the car had exploded, and he uses T-Rex force field. And all of a sudden he was shocked when someone said that traitor Wang Sai is so ruthless, even the body of a Tyrannosaurus will be blown to dust at close range. A light sphere retrieved the space backpack, and it was Bai Xing saying congratulations on passing the test. The lizard asked when he arrived, and Bai Xing answered that he had been watching him for a while. And seems like the examiner was given 3 options. However, the thrown car would block the annihilation attack, and there wasn't enough time to reopen the portal. And she should only jump into the portal in front, but she didn't expect that there was a bomb under the car. And told the lizard that he didn't take any risk. He was a general the moment he struck, and what a great mind game. And the butler said that she just forgot that throwing is the skill that made primitive man the most feared species on Earth. And he was thinking in his mind that Bai Xing had become many times stronger. And Bai Xing said to let him introduce an exclusive throne that allows him to freely ascend and descend in the sky, with Wang Sai's energy light combined with his classmates' constant thrust. And asking isn't it cool, and the butler asked if it was just an improvised escalator, and said that anyone can do it with a pulley, and Bai Xing was shocked and asked what a pulley. And so Bai Xing tried to change it and said to turn into a hot air balloon, turn into an airship and guessed that it was not cool, so he was thinking of a UFO and he can make super cool thing of it. On top of the building, Bai Xing said that people will come tomorrow, but now this was an S-rank polluted domain. If it weren't for special circumstances, he would have sacrificed millions of people to know the color change rule. The butler asked how was that possible, when did that happen and is it in a classified file? Bai Xing smiled and told the butler not to ask if he wanted to know. He likes him, so he will tell him the specific rules before it gets dark. First, the statue of the golden bull is a seal covered in some golden substance that he doesn't know about. When it comes into contact with a person, it unfolds in a polluted domain. Second, when the polluted domain unfolds, it remains asleep. When a color change larger than his own size appears, it will be awakened and start slaughtering all the color changes. He laughed and said that some idiot summoned a huge chunk of magma. Third, the color of an object comes from light. When sunlight disappears or is completely blocked, all creatures that have lost their color, age considered to have undergone a color change, triggering indiscriminate attacks. Fourth, once all targets have been eliminated, the true form of the entity will appear and he will seal it after that. He won't tell him the details for fear that he will take it away from him. The butler asked if after dark, won't they face an attack too, and Bai Xing opened the space backpack and said that Yuexin and him will hide inside and watch them get hammered outside. The butler asked really was and he didn't believe him, and Bai Xing told him that he had no sense of humor. And asked the butler if he knew his nickname, the King of Lights, Human Light Bai Xing. The doctor asked if it was possible, just like that, he could survive. Bai Xing said that he can only protect himself by summoning a ball of light with an energy channel and electric pixie. It was not a problem to keep the whole area illuminated at a constant level. He was once asked to adjust the size of the light sphere to emit light of different brightness. Now he has adjusted the light to match the outside world. As the sun sets and the sky darkens, they are the only areas that still have light and have not lost their color. And told the butler for Yuexing's sake, he will give him a chance to live, and wanted the butler to just stay put and not cause trouble for him. The guard and the doctor were sweating nervously. Bai Xing was thinking and asking after this where he should go. Pushkin could see the future. Perhaps he will appear once the polluted domain is unsealed. His sudden rebirth and taking away his golden bull statue may not have been something he could have foreseen. He personally witnessed the sealing process of one-day cycle and self-dissolution in his previous life. And he was asking why did he bring him to those 3 sealing events in his past life, and was it a trap for him? The butler told him that he was worried about the young Mrs. Safety, and wanted Bai Xing to put her in the space backpack first. The doctor said that even though he was a nameless fringe character, she thought it was better to have a comatose young lady under someone's care at all times. Bai Xing glared at her and the guard said that they were not trying to take an opportunity to hide inside, they had just been ordered to follow the young miss at all times. Bai Xing opened the space backpack and said that her coma was caused by her power level being depleted, which can be destroyed by giving her 1 energy level. And he won't wake her up until the seal is complete, so it would be better to get her inside. And he suddenly said to wait a second, and he thought there was something inside. Then he saw a 2-piece bikini and asked if it opened in the same space. And told the doctor and the guard that there was only a few supplies left, so there was enough room for both of them. And the doctor asked if it was really possible. Bai Xing told them that if they dare to make a move on Ji Yuexin, he can open the portal and kill them at any time, if he was not dead. If he was dead, they would be trapped inside forever. And so the guard and the doctor get inside the space packback together with Yuexin, and Bai Xing closes it after. The butler looked at the sky and said that it was getting darker, and Bai Xing asked him if he was scared. And the butler said that the Ji family has never been afraid of pollutants, and Bai Xing asked if it was a mess inside, right? The butler told him to drop it, geniuses and exalted individuals who are bent on having their own way will inevitably be ostracized, and it is only a delusion that they will be able to eliminate the pollutants and save mankind. And others who want to use the results of their research to revitalize their families should be understood. Bai Xing asked what exactly was the Ji family's research, and said that he respects him enough not to read his mind, so tell him. The butler said that he was just a butler, and he didn't know much. But what caused the Ji family to split and attracted foreign enemies to covet was a leaked thesis paper. Young Mrs. Father, the head of the Ji family, Ji Renha, wrote a thesis called The Relationship Between Pollutants and Sealers, and the Feasibility of Using Pollutants to Enhance Sealers' Abilities. Bai Xing was staggered and said that the theory that people can be polluted, and the abilities of sealers come from pollutants originally came from him. And the butler told him that he got the results already. Otherwise, the Ji family wouldn't be in such a mess all of a sudden. And he doesn't know anything else, guessing that maybe the family head is conducting the experiment for young Mrs. sake. And if he had a chance, he could come to the Ji family. Bai Xing said that they will talk about it later, it has already started. And all of a sudden, someone shouted asking for help. Said that Bai Xing harmed him and he couldn't accept it, and a group of bull was attacking the place. Bai Xing guessed that it looked like it was over, there was no one left alive, and the butler asked how he was going to seal it. Bai Xing stood up and said that as the domain loses its colors, its own body will wander into the darkness, searching for the only colors left and watching, and it was the only chance to come into contact with it. While he walked through, and all of a sudden the bull arrived and he was asking what if he made it so that it can no longer sense color. He ordered his shadow to go, and the shadow covered the bull's body, and Bai Xing was thinking that shadow's range is a little small, but as an A-rank ability, it can be strengthened by injecting more power. Injecting 3,000 powers, and the polluted domain is disintegrating. And all of a sudden Bai Xing opened the space backpack, and the guard and the doctor came out together with Yueshing. The doctor asked why it was open, and the guard asked if it was over. Bai Xing said that's step 2, put it in the space backpack and take it away. Injecting 4,000 power to expand the space backpack, suck it. Bai Xing closes the space backpack, and said that sealing completed. Unlike Pushkin's effective complete seal, the demonic bull did not fall asleep, but was cut off from triggering rules. And it was enough to unleash it again more quickly when faced with danger. And he bestowed Yueshing ability and ran away and said goodbye. He flew down from the building using wing flight F, and said that he will see where his good brother Lone Shark Gene Punji is waiting for him. And he was using the ability Vision C. That's all for today, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Until next time.